Welcome to Under the Sisterhood, where we honor female experiences. During each episode, I will have intimate conversations with women of all ages to get under the hood of their individual journeys through womanhood. Together, we'll pursue the many aspects of the female experience, creating a sacred space for women to share their stories, their ideas, and their wisdom. This is a podcast to celebrate women and recognize all that they do in our world. I'm Elizabeth Elfenbein. Let's get under the hood. Today, I'd like to welcome and honor Ann-Marie Coore. Ann-Marie is a daughter, auntie, sister, friend, international public health specialist, and founder of God Rocks. She also founded the Coore Foundation, and in 2012, its subsidiary, Girls Right of Way, providing a global path for at-risk girls to realize their full potential and thereby reverse societal blockades through sexual and reproductive health, literacy, crime prevention, and leadership strategy education. I am so honored to have my dear sister Ann-Marie with me today talking about womanhood. Welcome.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just so excited about this conversation with you, Ann-Marie. I mean, you have such an interesting perspective and you have so much history in terms of working directly with women and really building them and building their esteem and all of that. And so when I think about that, I couldn't wait to have this conversation because I knew your perspective would be really special. So
Thank you for having me.
So why don't we dive right into the questions? I mean, this one feels like an ocean. It means different things to different people. But basically, Ann-Marie, what does being a woman mean to you?
Being a woman to me is it's about the beauty, the charm, the grace, the posture, the this amazing gift that only we who are women have this amazing privilege to embrace and to share. It's about giving. It's about taking. It's about celebrating. And I don't say celebrate enough. Just really celebrating self. Having a day for yourself that you celebrate you as a quintessential woman. It's about celebrating our sisters and everything that's beautiful about them. It's not about criticizing or judging or any of those negative thoughts. About just celebrating and living in this place of peace and tranquility that I see with my sisters, and I share my sisters all over the world. So it's an honor. It's a place of honor. It's a place of honor, and it's sacred. It's a sacred sanctuary, and that's what sisterhood means for me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I think it's really interesting how people think of being a woman, what it means to them, or womanhood.
Mhm.
Now, as we move on, this question is, and they're all sort of the way we feel about it. What has your female experience been like? And at what age did you feel like a woman?
My female experience, it seemed like it's since conception, birth, um, and I really understood it at around 4 or 5. But the stories that were told to me about how I was born, who was in the room when I was born, my aunties, my grandmothers, my great grandmothers, they were there celebrating me, welcoming me into the world. How sacred and amazing is that? And then, always having the love, the laughs to sit on, the embrace, and even with discipline, when they're disciplining you, it was always with this love and care and just concern to make sure that we got it and that we understood what was right from what was wrong. So with all the guidance and support, but always this love, this space of love. And I got it and I understood it at 5, around 5, because I then started to almost imitate what they were doing with the ones that were younger than me. And so you start modeling that behavior at such a young age, and you realize that, wow, as you got older, I really started understanding what love and care and sisterhood and friendship even although they're your mom and your dad, your mom and your aunties and your grandmothers, the friendship that came, that they gave you at such a young age, and that they continue to give you throughout life, really just made such a difference.
That's so beautiful. I mean, you're very blessed. I mean, have a female experience and recognize it at such a young age and to be surrounded by so much love. I mean, it feels to me like kind of like a rare thing in ways. And I think it sounds like very much a kind of a cultural thing, that really understanding, creating this sacred container is what you grew up in. What age would you say you felt like a woman? Like you recognized, was that at 5 or was it at
Around 5, I felt that I was part of this sisterhood, as I was under that umbrella with 4 different generations of people just celebrating, listening. In the culture as a child, you were taught to listen more than speak. So, and that's an art that you learn very early, because we were the young sisters, and then we had the more mature sisters. Then we had the seasoned sisters, who were the great grandmothers, and the mature ones were the grandmothers. And then, the kind of ones that are kind of getting it out of the mothers. And then we were the baby sisters, but we were able to experience it from many different generations and learn from just observing and listening, how they dealt with situations, and how the younger ones will go to the older ones for advice, and how the older ones would go to the younger ones for advice. So it was always an exchange of wisdom and knowledge, and everyone respected the other person. It was just such a beautiful, not was, still is, because we're continuing that. I'm now in one of the mature group, but we're continuing that trend. And I think that's what pushed me into even doing the work that I do now, because it was such a natural thing for me. It was like a natural order of thing to me. I didn't have to think about it. It's not work. It's just my life's purpose. It's just my journey, because I had that from birth, and it came so natural. It is so natural for me.
I mean, that's just so beautiful. I mean, and yes, it is. It is. I know I've been so fortunate to know Ann-Marie for, I think, about 12 years. We did some work together to bring girls right away, to bring the branding to life. And I think, I couldn't agree that you're a natural born leader in this space, as a woman, as a sister, as a great sister, an auntie sister, whatever the levels you are. Do you think, because I know that you were born and raised in Jamaica, your first part of
Yeah.
life, and you came over here, so you had this cultural thing. Do you think it transferred very nicely and neatly into America? Like because of course you wouldn't be around all your aunties and grandmas and stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? Very, very shortly after I arrived in America, as a young girl, my grandmother came, which was the person I was the closest to. My mom is my sacred jewel, and then my grandmother is she's like the icing on top of the cake. And so she came very shortly, and then a few years later, all the aunties came. So, but what happened also, we came to America, so they came along with us in a very short span of time. But what happened was, we moved to Maryland and the Washington metropolitan area. And when we moved there, there was a small population of Jamaicans that were there. And immediately they became our aunties. So not only do we have our aunties that were from Jamaica that came with us, or biological aunties, but we also have a new, like another 5, 10 aunties that became a part of that pack that is still so close to us. So it expanded. The umbrella got bigger, and we needed more space because we needed a bigger umbrella, because we had more aunties and cousins, and that became a part of that sisterhood. So and they still are a part of that sisterhood. So it's just such a beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful for that, because it's a gift. It's a gift for me from God that I have this, and I treasure that, because it gave me purpose. It gave me worth. It solidified all the things that I needed to have solidified, in my life. So the confidence that I need to go out into the world and do what I need to do. And I never had to think about it. If I fail, what would happen? Because I always had cushions. So if I fall, there always this group of women that's below me or beneath, that's sitting around to stop the fall, to break the fall, to make sure I don't get hurt. And if I got hurt, to nurse me back to a place of a centered place where I'm centered. So it's just a beautiful thing, a beautiful thing.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Treasure.
you already answered one of the questions, but we'll get to that because I think we should delve into it. But yeah, I mean, such a fortunate way to come into this world and be surrounded by the love of so many different women. To your point, blood, you know, aunties, you know, mothers, aunties, sisters, grandmas, and all of that, and then the community. And that's a very much a mindset. It's a cultural thing, and it's a wonderful thing that you support each other versus compete with each other. This next question is a little different, but I think it's a really wonderful one, and I'm really curious to hear what your answer is. So you're looking at me. Imagine I am Ann-Marie at 18. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself, what would you tell Ann-Marie, your 18-year-old self?
Oh, I love that question. What would I tell my 18-year-old self? To celebrate me with every second of every day. To let go of the things that we considered hurt. To let go of them very quickly. Exhale quickly. Forgive quickly. Love intensely. And to create a space where, because I'm so blessed to have the sisterhood, it's to create a space. Responsibility comes with that, to take on that responsibility. Even at the age of 18, take it on and start mentoring, start nurturing, start giving back to the ones who are younger than you. And that's critical, because with all that you've been given, or I've been given, a big responsibility comes with that you can't, it doesn't stop with you. It continues with you. And you add more, you add more to the next generation or the next group of people, but you also nurture and support the ones that came before you, the grandmothers, the mothers, the aunties, on whose shoulder I stand and whose laps I sat in, and the embraces that you support them, you love them, you nurture them, you're there for them, you take care of them. And if I knew now, then what I know now, I would have started that, doing a lot more of that at 18. And, you know, not be so involved with self, be so involved with self. So be a lot less of me and a lot more of giving more of me to my community and my family, and the world. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you've been on, not to take this down a different path, but I think you've been doing that. So, I mean, I've known you for 12 years and you've been giving, and so much love, so much role modeling, so much, setting that example, be the leader. Like we have as women have to behave and show the way and pave the way for the women behind us. And I think people like you are a natural born leader. And I'm sure like at 18, I know you're going off to college and stuff and doing your thing, but clearly the path you've taken where you've given back into the community with everything has been extraordinary. So I love all of the answer. I think, back to celebrating yourself, celebrating self, but also knowing when you take the celebration of self and then give back, like, so know thyself and what have you, and then know how to help others is just a beautiful thing. That's a great message for women. So the next question I think is a really interesting one, because there's been a lot of stuff going on today. So how do you feel about being a woman in today's world?
I think it's one of the things that I think we have finally gotten there. A change has come, and I love it that a change has come, that we can create our own path if you choose to, that you don't have to be superwoman. You can be anything that you want to be, and you don't have limits unless you put them on yourself, and bigger than that, you don't allow people to give you limits and boundaries on how you should operate, that you are the creator of your space, and that you create your center, and you don't allow anyone or anything to take you out of that center. And if at any point you see where that is happening, you have the opportunity today to say, you know what, that doesn't work for me, and to get back into your center. So I love where we are today. I love looking at the younger generation beneath me, how fierce they are, how fearless they are, how empowered they are, the change agents that they have, that we have, we're now working with. So just so happy for this season and this time and this energy and all that is. And just, I'm happy to be a part of all of this, and to sit in it and watch, to not just to be doing, but to also watch and celebrate and applaud, what we have, where we have arrived, what we have and what we're doing.
So I don't know if I want to poke at this or not. So I couldn't, so I agree with you on a lot of fronts. I think that's a fantastic answer about women arriving, about women having and making choices. But I think we're also dealing with certain societal things. For instance, the Supreme Court overthrowing Roe v. Wade, where it actually takes the choice away from us. And so on one hand, yes, we are able to chart our path and have all those things. Do you have any feelings about that? And I don't mean to be provocative. I'm just curious, because I do agree about all the good things. I also have some other thoughts on that, but do you have any thoughts on the Roe v. Wade, like the Supreme Court thing? Does that impact your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that that's a question that is, it's where you are with your own being, and because if I look at it from, you can look at it from many different perspectives, and based on how you were raised and your belief system, it's going to play a big role in it. So that has to be an individual thing, and it's such a what is the word I'm looking for? It's such a strong thing that it's all about where you are as a person, because I've worked with different cultures around the world. In Korea, for example, the day of conception is life. So when you're born, you're 9 months old, and 3 months later you are a year. They have a different perspective. In Africa, it's once you hear the heartbeat, so we are. And because I'm exposed to all of those and all of those different, nuances and, the walk with God, my walk with God, it's a whole, you look at it in many different angles. So it's that one, it's really a very big question for me, that I'm still trying to figure out.
So I hear you. And I apologize if I poke too deep on a sensitive subject. It's
No,
more because we're
politics.
talking about us arriving, women arriving, being able to do all these things, that it's just then, something comes in. So I'm gonna actually, so I'm gonna move along and go on to the next question, because I think that it's a really good question that builds on this. So yes, things have advanced. Women have all these opportunities now. They can be the creators of whatever they want to be. Whatever they want to be, they shouldn't set any boundaries on themselves.
Right.
If you were like Ann-Marie, if you were to do anything, what was the one thing you'd want to do to make life better for women? It could be many things, by the way. Please have fun with it.
I look at life, especially when I look at it for women around the world, in human capital. What is human capital? Because once we understand the concept of human capital, then a lot of things will change and get better, for us. And when I speak of human capital, I speak of everyone everyone, their birthright is to have quality healthcare. So I don't care where you are on this globe, it should be your birthright that you are given quality health care, that maternal health care is given, that healthcare for the geriatric population is given, that it shouldn't be where you live that determines if you get an immunization, for preventable diseases. But everyone should have that right. And along with adequate healthcare for every human being on this earth, because it's not that it's not affordable, it's that certain populations are not given it for whatever reason.
It's not
And
accessible.
it's not affordable. And it's not just not acceptable either, is that, oh, it's almost like some populations are not worried. You're a second thought. We have to get past that. And it in the same breath, we speak about that for education, that along with the human capital, the second component of human capital is education. Everyone deserves the right to be educated. Everyone deserves the right to be educated. And then the third component of that is job training and jobs, providing jobs for people so that hunger is eliminated, homelessness is eliminated. Because once we have, especially hunger and homelessness eliminated, then people can thrive and people can grow and we can get better and stronger as individuals, as communities, as a nation, as a world, and we have better outcomes. So that would be my charge, human capital, looking at it from the health, education, and job training, and providing adequate pay for people to live and sustain a quality life, a quality lifestyle.
That's a phenomenal answer. So that's not even specific to women. To your point, that's human capital. That's specific
That's
to
human
everybody.
capital.
If you were then to say, you know what, so this is my point of view on human capital and investing in human capital through healthcare, education, job training, and fair pay. If you were then to focus on women, what would you do? What would you just apply the same filter specific to women? Is there anything you would add?
I would do the same thing, but one of the things that I would make sure that it happens is that we train, that we go into those countries and communities where women are, they're not given that opportunity. The sons are given the opportunity, not the daughters. And so as we see globally, that when we give a girl an education, her family, her community, her nation, her world benefits. Last time we give the son that same opportunity, him and his wife and his family benefits. Because a lot in a lot of the situations, they don't give back as much. They take it and they move on and they enjoy the benefits of it. Sometimes looking back, but if you look at percentage-wise, how many women go back, how many women serve, how many women pass the baton, how many women let that one education multiply over and over and over again and sacrifice, instead of them having this, what we consider this amazing lifestyle, they'll have a moderate lifestyle so that more people can benefit from that, their education, their salary, their wealth.
I
So
absolutely love that answer, because I love the human capital. I agree with that. Fundamentally, I couldn't agree more. But this is about women. And the truth is that women don't get any of that. If women had the proper health care, just in terms of birthing children, the different things that go on around the world, which of course you're very privy to, having traveled and support international health. So I think that's a great, I really, really, really appreciate that answer. The next question is about sisterhood. And I think you already answered it, but the question is about, do you feel part of a sisterhood? And of course, you talked a lot about that. What I'd love to hear is how extrapolate on, well, let me let you answer that, and then I'll ask you to extrapolate.
do I feel part of a sisterhood? Is that, yeah. Most definitely. I am so blessed. It's, and I always tell people I've worked in over 60 something countries, I think 61 or 62 countries, and lived or worked in them. And everywhere I go, it didn't matter if I spoke the language. It didn't matter if I spoke the language. It didn't matter what I was doing. Every country I've been to, there's been a mother there. There's been a grandmother there. There's been an auntie there to embrace it, even when I did not speak the language. So I feel like I am a part of a global sisterhood. And it's not with a word, it's unspoken. We connect in spirit, we connect in our hearts, in our soul, that I don't have to say much, and I can sit and have a dinner and with a family or a group of people, women in any country, and I don't even know what the heck they're saying, but by the time we're done, we are hugging, we are laughing, we're celebrating, and all we all know how to do is one common thing: laugh and embrace. And what a beautiful thing that even when we don't speak the same verbal language, we speak the same soul language, we speak the same spiritual language. So I am definitely a part of a global sisterhood, a sorority. So I'm so happy when you said you were doing the Under the Sisterhood, because I have been under that sisterhood and didn't even know I didn't have a title for it, but I've been living under it and been enjoying the blessings of it. So I enjoy it. I encourage every woman to get under the sisterhood. Drop all the crap and the gossip and the whispers and the foolishness, and let's start the celebrating and the loving and the caring, with words spoken and unspoken. And just pivot, change the way we do things, and watch us all grow and excel and do amazing things, because we are going to be under the sisterhood, loving and caring and nurturing each other to push us to our best self and to keep us in our center. So loving it, loving the sisterhood.
I love that answer. That really touches me. I actually had one experience. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I was over in Egypt for about a week, picking up my daughter. She's playing in an event out there, and she was staying with a family for 3 weeks. And she was staying with the daughter, and it was a husband, wife, a family. The daughter, I think she had a brother. And the husband spoke pretty good English. His wife, Arabic, no English whatsoever. They invited me over for dinner, and they cooked like a 20-course meal. And there were no words exchanged between me and her. And then we went a few days later, we watched our daughters compete in this event, and we sat next to each other, and there was just so much love. To your point, that the soul to soul, there was a connection there and a sisterhood there, and the same love would be there 10 years later. I mean, in other words, I could not get over it. I couldn't put words to it. I was so moved by the experience, but I could feel the global sisterhood. So I can so relate to, I mean, you've had many more, 61 countries. I haven't had 61 countries, but I've had some really nice experiences. And then more recently, an experience where I was in Costa Rica in a women's workshop. And there were women, I think there was a 19-year-old in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and late 50s and 50s. And there was like it didn't matter, from all around the world, from Israel to Germany to Belgium to France to, the US, actually fewer Americans. And so all around the world. And it was just a sisterhood. Switzerland, it was just amazing. And the feelings that we all had, there were so many universal feelings. Of course, we all had our individual ones as well. But it was a sisterhood that 4 days together, day in and day out, you could just feel. And I'm still connected to some of them, which has just been beautiful. So that's a wonderful answer. And I think you're absolutely right. We need to celebrate each other. We need to be there lifting each other, sisterhood, lift each other. Don't take each other down. And I think I was having an interesting conversation with a few other guests about sort of what the system has done to women, because we're competing for the same things, at least in the Western culture. So, if there's one spot for a woman and we're all competing for it, that means we're fighting against each other for that thing. And so because there's a scarcity issue, women, instead of supporting each other, they're competing against each other. And so it's just, to hear you speak of it. And I think we've been connected for so many years. I think this is one of the things I love the most about you, is that you're an instant sisterhood, and it doesn't even matter where you come from, what age you are, you love, you respect, you honor, and you hold sacred space for women. You have a sisterhood. So this last question, I think, is a really wonderful one, because each of you gets to use this as your platform to communicate what you want. So imagine, Ann-Marie, that you're talking to women who are 18, who are 40, who are 80, who are 60, from all around the world, different cultures. Like, what would the message you'd want Ann-Marie Coore to give?
Love, unconditional love, no judgment, no criticism, celebrate each other, um, be the backbone for the person who um, is limped and is bending over. You be their backbone, you be the support, you be the strength for them. You don't have to know their story. And that's one of the things that we look so much to what is the story. You don't have to know their story, you just have to be the support. You don't need to know why they're crying, you don't need to know why they're lamenting. Just the mere fact that your soul is broken, and God put you in that place for you to be there, to see that it's for a purpose. It's for you to now be that support, be that embrace, be that voice of change, be that voice of encouragement, no judging. I don't care what the person has done. Love them unconditionally and love them to the place of healing, back to healing. And that is what we are called to do. That is our purpose. That is part of our journey, a big part of our journey, to love, just to love with no conditions, love with not knowing the stories, love with just everything that is inside of you. Just give and give and give and give. And it's such a healing, it's medicine. It's medicine for the heart, it's medicine for the soul, it's medicine for the spirit. It changes things, it heals people. What an amazing gift, what an amazing gift. And when you're giving it, it's the most amazing thing is that it's almost selfish because you get so much back, so it's almost a selfish thing because you give it, and when you're giving it, you're getting so filled and so much back that why don't you give more? Because you're getting so much more, you're refueling times 10 every time you give it. So that's mine. That's mine. Love purely and unconditionally, all the time, every time, to everyone.
I love that. No pun intended. I love that. I think it's wonderful. I think when you take away the conditions and you love with your heart and you open yourself, I think you're right. You'd be surprised. You receive, while you're out there giving, you're receiving so much more. And the feeling's so good. And what I can say is I've known you for 10 or 12 years. You've never been any differently. And why I'm saying that is because that's a really attractive quality in a human being. So imagine women, when you love and when you're open, you're beautiful. You just emanate beauty and, and so many wonderful things. And I think that doing that, I think back to your point of the healing piece, when you love.
So many people, they've only heard criticisms from their family, from their friends, from the teacher, from the pastor, from the rabbi, from whoever is giving it to them. They have only heard criticisms and judgment, and you should be like, and why don't you, and this, and it's always that they're never enough, and that they're not, there's something missing, you're broken, no, we don't need to give any more of that. The world has gotten enough of that. Our sisters around the world have gotten enough of that. Embrace, love, laugh, eat the food, share a meal, share a candy, share something, walk and look at the sunset. And I mean, just share time, space, energy. And if the person wants to speak, then be quiet and listen. That's part of love as well. Just be quiet and listen. We don't have to say a word. And if something needs to be said, make sure it's said nicely and gentle, with a gentle touch, with care and compassion and emotions, because we don't want to break the person any further. So, or any more than they've already been broken. We want to do healing and leave everyone that we have met a little bit more healed, a little bit more loved, a little bit more happy, and that is our requirement. The world tells us the opposite. but that is that is what is required of us as sisters under the umbrella. And I hope every woman around the world get under this umbrella, because could you imagine a beautiful world we'll have if we are as sisters from every genre, every walks of life, you know, get under this umbrella and say, we're going to do it differently. What an amazing, amazing space this world would be. Amazing.
I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything I want to add to that. I think you're looking at love so almost like 4 or 5 dimensionally. And I think that you're right. If we were to love that way, with that kind of care and gentleness and intention and sacred, and really honoring, the world would be a better place. And as women, because I think we have so much power and strength, we could do so much to affect change in such a positive way.
And Elizabeth, you said 2 amazing words: intentional and sacred. It has to be intentional, that you wake up every day with that intention, that this is how I'm going to operate, and I will not operate. And if you see yourself moving, because we're humans, it happens. If you see yourself shifting away from that, then intentionally bring yourself back to your center where you operate best. And it's sacred because it's a holy space. It's an amazing space that only you and that person, and for me, God shares. You know, so it's such a sacred space. And again, like I said, that changes everything for all of us when we know we have that. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. This has been a really touching, heartfelt and deep conversation around, I really think, sisterhood. I mean, you've really hit all of that for me. Ann-Marie, I'm so humbled and honored and grateful to have had this time with you, and sharing this sacred conversation. So thank you.
I thank you so much for having me, and look forward to a lot more chats with you. Thank you. And thank you for being my sister, and for us sharing the umbrella, being on this umbrella for over 12 years, and for keeping it sacred and loving. Thank you.
I think that we've been very fortunate because we know what matters. So thank you, Ann-Marie. It's a wonderful sisterhood.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Under the Sisterhood. We hope you will join us next episode to honor amazing women from around the world. This podcast is created and hosted by Under the Sisterhood, LLC, and Elizabeth Elfenbein, produced by Elizabeth Elfenbein and Zach Slav, and edited by Zach Slav. The music is by Ayla Schaefer. Her song, Rose.